Welcome to another book review. Today I'd like to speak about a novel that I've read entitled Life of Pi by Yann Martel. And the story in many ways has creation written all over it. There are references to man, animals, God, sun, moon, stars, water, everything else that you can imagine. I guess if you're going to write a novel, incorporating everything else in heaven above and earth below is not a bad idea. After all, who in their right mind is going to be bored by creation? When I read the book, I wasn't looking for a defense of biblical theism. I knew of some of the implications of the book. I was looking for a story that in one sense confirmed the majesty of God in the world, as Psalm 8 tells us. And I think Life of Pi does that. It was creative and it was remarkably written. If you wanted, for instance, a tour of a zoo with the most descriptive terms, the beginning of the book actually provides that for you. And in many ways, the author takes on a role of a zoo apologist. And Pi grows up in this environment. He grows up in the zoo and he learns everything he needs to learn about animals. And he also learns, which is important as the story develops, how to keep the animals controlled and content. The novel makes a fairly compelling case for the necessity of zoos. You may have probably heard the argument that animals need to be free in the wild. This argument in particular is actually addressed head-on in the book, and I think it is answered quite well, at least in my opinion. Animals are free, according to the argument in the book, animals are free in any place where they can know that they are in control of their environment. And the two great dangers of the wild are precisely the foe, the enemy, and the food, which is difficult to obtain. Well, in the zoo, as the argument goes, animals are protected from foe, from the danger of other animals, and food is provided for them abundantly. So therefore, the zoo, no matter how small the space may be, becomes the home of this animal, and the animal is in a controlled environment. He's also content with where he is. Well, the book takes on a syncretistic role when Pi becomes enamored by the three great religions of the world: Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism. And in fact, he's controlled and he's even mocked by the obvious impossibility of believing in all three religions at the same time. And one of the funniest lines of the book was when Ravi, Pi's brother, says to him, "At the rate you're going, if you go to the temple on Thursday, the mosque on Friday, and the synagogue on Saturday, and church on Sunday," he says, "you only need to convert to three other religions, and there will be a holiday for you for the rest of your life." I thought it was a very insightful point from Ravi as Pi continues to accumulate religions. Well, religions and animals, they come back to the discussion in part 2 of the book, which begins with a very interesting line, "and the ship sank." And that is when everything begins anew. It is sort of Pi's new world before him. It's a very lonely world, and so he has to find friendship in the most unlikely of creatures. The story of Pi, of course, is a story of survival. As they are going to Canada to begin a new life, Pi is actually stuck in the middle of the ocean to begin a new life himself, certainly not the life that he expected. And it's a story of a young man in the sea for over 200 days, and it's quite fascinating as you go through, and you cannot help but be amazed at the wonderfulness of God's creation and His creatures, as the book describes very clearly and in great detail. And in order to survive, the protagonist needs to abandon his vegetarian ways, so to speak, and he needs to eat whatever he finds. And the diversity of the sea, of course, is quite impressive. There is flying fish, there are turtles, and one interesting detail that I thought fascinating in the book is that the blood of turtles is not salted, therefore it is drinkable. And Pi has quite a feast out of turtle blood in the book. Well, throughout the whole story, we know that Pi will live through it. The author makes that very clear in the beginning of the book and throughout the book. But at times you're actually left wondering if he really will make through another day, since his circumstances are so dire. You know, for instance, will Richard Parker, who is the tiger, will he consume Pi in a moment of desperation? And so what you have in the book, in the latter part of the book, is you have in this book man, Pi, and a very unlikely animal at sea seeking the very same objective, the very same goal, which is survival, and they do so throughout the book. Well, Life of Pi is a great journey through doubt, faith, and perseverance, and I strongly recommend it to you for your enjoyment and pleasure. Well, thank you very much. Hope you get a copy of this book when you can, And we will see you next time for the next book review. Thank you.